Hey everybody, welcome back to the CannaTech podcast. Today is an extremely special day. I am coming to you almost live from Everett, Washington with Mitch Pfeifer of Respect My Region. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Good. Yeah, this is a real treat. You know, you have an incredible online presence. I want to compliment your personal brand building up on LinkedIn. And we have talked before, but this is the first time live, and it's just kind of goofy because I spent 32 years here back on a working vacation, and here we are.
Yeah. Coming from the home office, you know.
Oh yeah, I got one too. Hey, couple of top of mind topics. So your company, Respect My Region's on tour. Okay, what's the 411?
Yeah, so this is our second year of the North American Weed Tour, building off of 3 years previous to last year of the West Coast Weed Tour. When it was the West Coast Weed Tour iteration, we actually got in a van and went on from Seattle to LA and back.
That's great.
Yeah, for 3.5 weeks. Being that we're covering the whole country, it's not a tour in sense of those days or my music days of getting in a van and traveling for months. So we call it's a content campaign, online content campaign mixed with physical travel, where we're traveling across the country mainly for cannabis events in different markets, which gives us an opportunity to spend some time there shopping at dispensaries, reviewing and trying products, touring cultivation and manufacturing facilities, and then also events are kind of the pinnacle of networking.
So yeah, you're developing a lot of content and relationships.
I am very, very much invested in relationships and content for sure, above money or anything else. So I prioritize those two things for sure.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more of it. I'm glad you're in early on this concept, and here's why. And my readers and you are tired of the old Microsoft days, but what we found, and I think we're headed there as an industry, is the Windows Small Business Server product got more mature. At the peak, it ultimately grew into Microsoft across America. Now, Microsoft can fund these big semi truck, and it was an experience, right? The trailer pulls up and you walk through the hands-on lab. It was really cool. And I told them, I want to go on tour, right? I mean, I'd love to do this. This is great. Well, they already had employees, but the point is that takes a certain level of operational maturity to pull that off. Those trips are expensive. It's really hard to measure the ROI, right? So it takes a little bit bigger, more mature player. But I think we're going to see that, and a potential candidate to finance that sometime would be your client Cookies, right? It's going to take a company that's rocking and rolling.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously already on tour, pretty much opening dispensaries across the country everywhere, and then through Burner's Music, he's physically on tour in a Cookies bus, all over the place. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult, but thankfully, much like the honcho of Cookies, where I come from a music background, and I will always say you will never find a group of individuals that is more resourceful on the fly, and ability to operate on a lean to zero existent budget than someone that has done the DIY independent music grind. So while I say, most of these big companies, like, until they have a big budget, they can't do it. We're just like hustlers who come from like everybody pile up in the Nissan. We're driving somewhere with no money in our pocket, no connections, and we're just going to figure the shit out as we go.
Well, a joke would be a variation of a joke. I know, if you want to find people who could survive a recession, I guess it would be entrepreneurs and musicians.
Yeah. And musicians are comfortable operating with no money in their pocket, and you got to make something happen. And when you talk about ROI, again, being a musician is, how many, you talk to any musician, how many shows they've played where the money wasn't there was 5 people in the audience, and it's either cry about it and go home, or just squeeze some sort of lemonade out of it. So I'm conditioned, put me in any scenario and I'll squeeze a W out of a loss, man.
Yeah. Hey, finally, you had some thoughts in your recent newsletter about the economic conditions, the state of the economy with respect to cannabis. Go for it.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of talk online right now about the market being down, and we were sharing about this offline. I'm really surprised how many companies projected to have sales be at or exceed 2021. Obviously, we saw massive market growth in cannabis in 2020 and 2021, which was due to a endless unnatural external factors that contributed to that, and as we go back to normalcy, whatever that is, those factors are no longer there. So I just don't understand how anybody sat down to look at their books and said, oh, we're going to beat last year. I just don't see how anyone thought that was possible by the post on LinkedIn and the reports and news articles. Apparently, I don't know, 80 to 90% of people somehow thought that. I'm not claiming I'm a financial genius or an economist, but I kind of saw that. And when we're looking at the market right now, a lot of people expanded. There was obviously a lot of healthy capital over the last few years in all markets, not just cannabis. And that money was put to expansion, and not everybody, everybody had the unique idea of expansion. And so now we're seeing oversupply in a lot of markets. Consumers are starting to get pinched and going kind of downwards. And, we're talking about too, every industry is filled with booms and bust, or a bubble burst.
Yeah.
And we're in potentially a little bit of a bubble burst in cannabis right now. And so some brands are winning that have been able to market and attract and understand their audience, understand their numbers and reach them. And the brands and companies and dispensaries that have really relied on the weed sales itself, which is something I've been hearing since 2015, those guys are hurting pretty bad right now.
Yeah. And I, coming from the tech industry, now, I feel I've earned the right to be in the CannaTech space the last 6 years, but prior to that, every day, all day. In tech, we always have booms and busts, .com, .gone. It's called the Gartner hype curve. So all this excitement and enthusiasm, and then what they call the trough of disillusionment is there's free market corrections and often oversupply. And then you typically have a long-term tail sloping to the right. And folks, that's what really happened coming out of .com is you had the frothy excitement, the crash, and then out of that came Facebook and arguably LinkedIn and Netflix, Uber. And so that's where we're headed. And that's, guys, that's what free markets look like. If you can't handle the heat, go get an overhead door franchise. I mean, God bless you. Central Texas is booming. There's a lot of garage doors going in. Hey, any final thoughts? And we're going to circle back to you next quarter.
Just stay dangerous, man. I don't know. Any cannabis company and brand out there, like I said, understand who your audience is. And if you know who your audience is, think the next step down is where are they at? What is the messaging that they want to know? And just start executing on that. Too many people are overcomplicating things, or they're dumbing it down too much to the weed sales itself, which we know, sure, in any infant market, a limited license market, that's very much true. But as competition heats up, cannabis or not, no product sells itself, man. You got to get out there and make moves, or like you said, go do something else.
Well, then I got to go. I got to go develop some business, brother. Hey, I'll give you a fist bump. We'll see you next quarter. Thank you, Mitch. Oh, hey, by the way, where can people learn more about you and everything you do?
RespectMyRegion.com, at RespectMyRegion.usa on Instagram. Just at Respect My Region on any other platform, because Instagram shuts us down, so we have to have some sort of iteration. And then just Mitch Pfeifer on LinkedIn.
All right, well, you got it. All right, thanks, folks.